12 seconds of effort, where 12 seconds of effort are put into the video. There will be a transcript of the video in the description at the bottom, and I apologize, my voice is annoying, but I can't change it. Hey everyone, sorry I didn't get one out yesterday. I had a kind of busy Martin Luther King day, but now it's time for The Force Awakens, probably the least controversial of the sequel trilogy movies. I've already kind of tackled some arguments in support of this movie and the other ones, but I'll do it again anyway. So now that we have all three movies in this trilogy, people post The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker tend to just attack the entire trilogy together, but rarely do they do anything to this one. Typically I've had to just ask, well, what about Force Awakens? What did you think about that one? And the answer is always the same. Meh, too similar to A New Hope, and then they just start hating on the other two again. However, in a pre-Last Jedi world, I liked it, a little too similar to New Hope, which I didn't love, but overall, yeah, it was a great movie. I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but I'm yet to find someone who hates The Last Jedi and didn't do this. Now, why? What changed this movie? If anyone out there has seen my Last Jedi video, they know that my theory is just kind of a desire to hate. You demonize The Last Jedi and then it bleeds over into the others. Force Awakens is heavily tied to Last Jedi, and so that affects it. But pre-Last Jedi, this movie was very well received, despite the fact that it was too similar to A New Hope. But you know what? A New Hope was a great movie. It's a very good story, and there's nothing wrong with using it again. There are only like 6 actual stories that have been told, and they just get recycled throughout all books and movies. Sometimes it's more obvious than other times, like how Force Awakens is just A New Hope, or other times it's a little less obvious, but it's really just a few stories being told over and over again. The challenge of a storyteller is to make the story their own and make the audience not notice unless they want their audience to notice. And I think that was the goal of The Force Awakens. I think they wanted the Star Wars story we're familiar with. When George Lucas sold his company, he had outlines for episodes 7, 8, and 9. Disney wasn't required to use them, but George Lucas wanted them to. In the end, they were vetoed because they weren't safe enough. The prequels got a crap ton of hate for the Metachlorians and all that stuff, and lots of the sequel trilogy that George Lucas had planned out was going to be expanding on that idea and stuff. So Disney didn't want the prequels on their hands again. They wanted the original trilogy, something that united the fans and that people would love, which is really sad in hindsight how that didn't go so well. So I think their goal was to make it a lot like A New Hope, just with different characters and a few differences. And when it came out, it paid off. It saw a bunch of success and was well received by most. And there are a few people I've spoken to who get confused when I say something about it being the same story, and I have to explain it to them, and afterwards they just say, I guess. So now at this point in the writing process, I've had to Google common complaints about the movie, which I guess is a good thing for the movie that I've run dry fast, but I just found something I want to throw in here real quick about complaint number 1, which, guess what it is. So yeah, what they said was, what people don't realize is that it follows the Star Wars formula. Heck, even the prequels had similarities to the original trilogy, but no one noticed that. Sure, The Force Awakens may borrow a little bit too much from A New Hope, but it's not copy and pasting. The Force Awakens may have its similarities, but it would be unfair to say it didn't try new things, and it was its own thing. So that I'm not plagiarizing, that's said by Johnny1248 on the top10s.com. So another one I saw as a complaint throughout the trilogy that I've talked about, Rey's quick development of Force powers. First, it's not that fast. I mean, look at her in this movie. She struggles so much for a simple mind trick, and then she pulls an already moving lightsaber. That's all. And she already had immense power. She says in the next one that it's always been there, she's just learning how to channel it. The Force isn't some weapon you have to be skilled to fight with. It's something already there that you have to learn how to influence, just as it influences you. I think the reason the Jedi have to start at such a young age is because the Jedi want to teach them their doctrine and ways before they can have any other influence by anything, and they can be trained their whole life to ignore anger and fear and attachment. Otherwise, Luke wouldn't have grown so powerful despite the fact that he didn't begin his training until an adult. I haven't read any of the books or comics though, so something there might prove me wrong. I'm kind of a movie and TV show purist there. So now next up is Finn and Rey fighting Kylo Ren so successfully. Dang, this is reminding me of so many complaints people say about this movie. Anyway, I read a pretty good explanation for this one too. It says, as much as I was disappointed by this, I'll try to defend it as best I can. Remember, Ren had just been shot in the side by Chewie's crossbow, a weapon previously proven to send stormtroopers flying in the air. Not Ren. He took it like a champ. He then fights Finn, yes, an ex-janitor without any lightsaber experience, but he wasn't trying to kill him. I thought Ren's lax fighting style made it obvious he was only toying with Finn rather than actually trying to dice him up. This is made more obvious when Finn actually lands a hit on Ren, who then immediately disarms Finn and slices his back. A combination of grief after killing his father earlier, being taken by surprise when Rey uses the Force and stuff, all the while bleeding from Chewie's crossbow earlier, account for the fact that he loses to Rey. That was also from the topdens.com. I also want to add in that she wasn't doing so hot herself, either, until she stopped, closed her eyes, and began to let the light and the Force flow through her. She's actually thinking now, unlike Kylo Ren, who's just attacking. So those are just some of the main complaints that I've attempted to justify, but really, I shouldn't feel the need to justify anything. Yeah, the movie isn't perfect. No movie is. It's just a movie. There's no need to freak out about all these flaws and stuff. Just watch the dang movie and enjoy it for the fun ride it is. I get it, Star Wars was a huge part of so many people's childhoods, mine included, and some people were disappointed by the sequel trilogy. But Disney isn't trying to destroy Star Wars. They gave us The Force Awakens trying to give us a movie they thought would make us happy, and that would let us relive our childhood. They aren't trying to destroy something you love, and if you feel these movies did, just ignore them. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the books or comics. In my mind and my knowledge of Star Wars, the only canon stuff is the movies and shows. If you don't like this new stuff, just have the canon be the first 6 movies. It's a piece of fiction, which means you have the right to disregard any part of it that you want. Personally, I want to keep these new movies, but that's the beauty of fiction, that it's what you make it to be, unlike actual history where we're stuck with what happened no matter how much we don't like it. And if someday Disney comes out and says, screw it, none of the stuff we did is official canon, I'll just think, screw you, I'm keeping it. And when I introduce my kids to Star Wars, they'll get all of them. The story of a slave boy who became Darth Vader, a farm boy who became a Jedi and a hero, and a scavenger girl who ended the war. Well, that's all for today. Sorry this one was a little shorter than usual, but like I said, Force Awakens is the least controversial of the trilogy. Though if I struggled this much writing this one, I don't even know what I'll do for Return of the Jedi next week, or Empire, and Empire is going to be a nightmare. Oh well, I'll figure something out. I hope. Have a nice week. See you next Monday, unless I die, or go blind, then I won't be able to see you. Wait.